Hi there. So today I'm going to be doing some more bread. I've done some already before. Ones I've done before, me bun recipe, and I've done some baguettes as well. One of the loaves I've made recently is a wholemeal loaf, which I'm going to do again today. I know one or two people have asked about the recipe and is there a video on it, and I said next time I actually do the loaf I'll just make a video, so that's what I'm doing today. So I'll show you first what I'm, ingredient wise what I'm putting in. So the first one, obviously the important, what makes all the difference, is the type of flour that we use. And so we're using, I use Matthew's Cotswold flour, which I find is very good. If you can find another one that suits you, that's absolutely fine. I kind of stick with one type that I kind of get the feel for. Not that I'm any expert at all, because I'm not. But what I kind of find is if you can keep something constant, like the type of flour, and then keep your recipe constant, you end up with, pretty much consistent results. If you start chopping and changing flours and stuff like that, you find all flours absorb different amounts of water. So each time you change the flour, you're kind of changing the recipe, if that makes sense to you. So the one I'm using, like I say, is Matthew Cotswolds, and it's stone ground whole grain flour. Wholemeal is whole grain. It's a type of whole grain, so it's using the whole grain. So without further ado, the basic recipe always generally starts with 500 grams. So I'm putting 500 grams of flour in the bowl. If you think it looks a bit dirty, it's because I've been doing bread in there. So I better have a little look around the corner, see what we've got. Let's get that in there. 200, 300. I say the daft thing with this, I have to point it towards you so you can see what I'm doing, but then I can't see what I'm doing. But nevertheless, in the for the sake of helping you out, I'll make life difficult. Exactly 500 grams. Brilliant. So we've got our flour in there. Let's get our yeast. I'm using fresh yeast predominantly because I can get it from the Tesco's for free. So I'll go in there and say, have you got any fresh yeast? And they give us a yeast. This will last till about another good couple of weeks, so I'll get a good few loaves. So I'm not paying for it. And I've done a test between dry and fresh, and the only thing I can say that actually makes any difference at all is mainly to do with the smell. But in essence, they both work the same. So I think it's, I marginally prefer the fresh, but only kind of because it's free. And I'm putting in here between 10 and 15 grams. I'm actually going to go for 15 grams because I want to, there's a kind of a reason behind it. Because it's a stronger flour and it's a wholemeal flour, it takes a little bit more yeast to push things in the, there's 15 grams, that's 14, 15 grams. Brilliant, that's enough. Keep that in the fridge. That's going to last us for a good couple of weeks. So the next thing that we're going to go in, and I always do things in order: yeast, flour, yeast, salt, and then I know they're the three main ingredients. If with any bread you need at least those three, and water of course, otherwise you're in bother. Obviously salt for flavour. It doesn't. I was having this conversation online with somebody, I think it was yesterday, about putting less salt in, and it's all a matter of taste preference. If you want less salt in, put less salt in. If you don't want any salt in, don't put any in. But it is there for flavour, and it brings out the flavour of the bread. And 10 grams is a standard across the bread making world for 500 grams of flour, 10 grams of salt. So you'll find that in pretty much every recipe that you look for. I always use a sea salt. It's a better flavour, and it's better for you because it's more minerals and stuff in than the table salt, which is a little bit more chemically tasty. So we've got the flour, yeast, salt. I'm going to add one other thing, which is a dough improver. And before anyone asks the name, make or whatever, it's called Beyond Beauty, Bacon Beauty and Beyond. If you had my glasses on, it would be better, but it's all the bees. And what that does is it enhances the dough in terms of makes the dough rise better, faster. Faster, it actually makes it rise more, so it enhances the raising of the dough, and also it's to do with the longevity of the bread. It just keeps that little bit better. So you don't have to put this in. If you don't want to put it in, don't put it in. And I'm only going to put a few little grams in, literally less than what they recommend. I'm put about 4 grams in there. Reason being, what I found with some of my loaves, they just get too big in the tin. They just start blooming at the top. So I don't want it to over expand, but I just want that little bit of enhancement that comes from it. So I'm just putting 4 grams in for now. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got there in the end. And the final one is our water. Let's just clean the top up a little bit. Is our water. Basically, with the water, brown bread or brown flour, because it's got all the stuff it's got in there. It's got the extra fibre and it's the whole grain. Actually takes more water than a standard white loaf. So where I'd normally add about 350 grams to this, if it was a white loaf, I'm going to go with 375. And I found that gives us a good light loaf. So the theory with the water is the wetter you make the dough, the better the bread at the end, in terms of it's a better texture. And the reason behind that, if your dough is dense at the start and not much water in it, it's quite tough, then it's not going to do much in the oven. It's going to be like a brick when it comes out. If you add more water, what it does is it makes it a wetter dough, yes, but it makes it more elastic. It makes it easier for the dough as it's pushing, as the yeast is pushing up. It's kind of, if you can imagine a balloon that you've blown up before and it's more stretchy, that's when there's more water in it, it's like that, it blows up easier because there's less resistance there, because there's more water activating the gluten, making it nice. So in essence, just remember the concept. The wetter the loaf, the wetter the dough, the better the loaf. Obviously that's within reason, because there comes to a point where you can't handle it, but that's a different story. So we're going to put in 375 grams. So I've got everything I need. I'm not mixing anything. I'm not pre-activating the yeast or anything like that. And the reason behind, Tesco's use it every day. They're not going to use yeast, which is no good. They're going to use yeast which works, obviously. And you can tell if their yeast is working, just look at the shelves and they're full of bread. So you think, well, yeah, their yeast is okay. So 375, brilliant. Yeah, back in the day, I think what they used to do is they used to activate the yeast, get it going, and partly was just to make sure it was okay before it went in the flour. But nowadays, like I say, if you get good fresh yeast, there's not a problem. And all I'm going to do with this, I'm going to get it going for 15 minutes. Knead it away with the dough hook in, and slow to start with. I'll whip it up to, I'll speed 2 on there. I'll whip it up to 3 or 4 and give that a good knead, and we'll come back at the end of it. So nothing to it. Like I say, it's just mainly the flour, and let me just kind of re-emphasize with the flour, it's the main ingredient in all your bread. So the better flour you use, kind of the better quality or the better product you're going to get at the other end. It's as simple as that, it really is. So like I say, the other things, you can use filtered water. It doesn't make a difference, honestly. You won't notice any difference at all. Like I say, the only additive as such is that, which you can leave out if you want, it will still work. So there we go. We'll come back when it's done its thing, get it formed in a bowl and give it a rest for however long. And we'll come back and talk about that shortly. So I'll see you in about 15 minutes. So watch what you're doing. Bye for now.